back, everybody. It is the Working Brother back at you with another talk. Yet again, we've got Xoaquin Flores, also known as XF. X, how you doing?
Hey, what's good?
Pretty good, pretty good. Good to have you back. You've been on a little bit of a hiatus from the online presence due to your travels, yeah?
Yeah, my already very limited online presence. And yeah, some traveling in the US. I wonder, I was like thinking about life and like time and how we spend it. And like, yo, these like professional vloggers and YouTubers, this is like the amount of like post-production and pre-production and then the consistency. It's like, it doesn't leave much time for much else in life, man. I don't know what they're doing, but
yeah, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, but yeah, we've for everybody who's new here, hi, welcome. This is a comedy show. Nothing we say here has anything to do with reality. Now that disclaimer is out of the way, you may notice that we've both got this Mexican mustache going on. That is because Xoaquin, you're ethnically Mexican, right? But you're from the States.
yeah. Yeah,
This is
when I'm in the
this is
United
where.
States, I'm ethnically Mexican. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get that. What would you say?
I said, yes, when I'm in the United States, I'm ethnically Mexican.
All right, all right. How long did you go for, and why did you go, and how was your trip? Do you want to get into that right off the bat?
Yeah, I went for 45 something days. I went to go, my father broke his neck about a year ago, and I hadn't visited him since his accident, and he's not in a wheelchair. He didn't lose motion in his body, but his they had to fuse like the C1 through C3, so he's got very limited range of motion. But whatever, that he's alive and he's still, relatively autonomous and stuff like that. And his mind is in good shape, so it was good to see him. I saw my mom too. They live in different parts of the country. So I was like, between Virginia, New Mexico and California, was basically the trip. And a lot of New Mexico. I mean, So I got arrested on the way into the country, but I had some idea that I would be. And then, so I booked my flights and hotels in Washington the first night, like accordingly, so that it wouldn't cause, so that even if I was like held, because I was looking at the Supreme Court cases and the maximum times that people have been detained. And it looked like, and I know I hadn't done anything. There was like one case where a guy was held for like 24 hours without charges, without being released at the border and that was allowed by, I don't know the details, but ultimately they did find like a lot of cocaine or something in one of his duffel bags. So then it was like justified, I guess. There was another guy who was held for like 11 hours and then they got nothing on him.
You're saying this was happening while you were being held?
No, I'm saying I looked at the case history of like how this might work when I was planning my trip into the United States, because I had a hunch. I'm not going to say some reasonable anything. I just had a fucking hunch that I was going to be detained or arrested when I attempted to enter my own country, the United States. So
the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Yeah, so I got brave and I got in there, and then I was pretty free after my encounter with the FBI. But yeah.
Yeah, I've got this receipt that you posted for the FBI encounter. Do you want to tell us your digest, as in like, because you were traveling obviously with your family and your kids and so on.
I was traveling with my wife and my children, and they're dependent on me, and they were concerned, when I was stopped. And it was quite a number of hours as an ordeal. Like, had I had a flight later that day, because my goal was not at that time Washington. Like, I went to go see my family in Virginia at the end of the trip on my way back out of the country. Don't ask me how I got out of the country. But yeah, so I just had a idea that it would be smart, just for my family not to be stranded and to get them into the country and to have like a nice hotel and like they're near the airport already ready for me. So I booked all that shit in advance, and then my flights out to New Mexico were not for like the following day in the afternoon. So that in the worst case, if they held me up to the limit, like I knew there was nothing they could charge me on. You know what I mean? Because I haven't done anything, So the only thing they could possibly ever get me on is if they have already some idea about what I'm doing, which is not illegal. But then if they ask me about it again and I explain it in a different way, even if I just think I'm using synonyms, or even if I think I'm clarifying or adding, my explanation, like they could take that as like that I gave false statements to the federal agents at the border, which is a chargeable offense independently of the shit that they're asking you about. So I knew they had nothing on me. The worst thing I could do was just talk. You know what I mean? Because if they're talking to you, you know what I mean? Like, don't talk, like if they got their shit on you, like they don't need to talk to you.
It's the
so you're never going to talk
it?
yourself out of anything. Number
isn't
one.
Isn't it called pleading the fourth? Isn't that what it's called?
The fifth, but yeah.
Fifth, there you go.
But you don't really have Fourth Amendment rights. Fourth is search and seizure, so it's close. You're not crazy. Fourth is search and seizure, and you don't really have Fourth Amendment rights at the U.S. border, and that's why they do it there. And then what they tried to do is just kind of like transition the questions from where have you been and how long you were there to like why were you there and what kind of ideas do you have about the places that you visited, and then what kind of places what kind of things do you write about? And all of a sudden they knew that I was a writer or an analyst and stuff, and I'm like, okay, so this is not a random stop. And then they brought the FBI. It turned out the guy was FBI pretending to be a border agent, and it was all all the words that I spoke to them were under duress, and I was never informed that this was optional, because technically that interview is not optional, but if they start asking questions that are not in the territory of the thing, well, that is optional, but they didn't clarify. So then they tried to do a redo of the interview with the higher up FBI guy. And I'm like, you want a do-over? How about, can I go now, right? Like, how about no thank you? So I politely declined their invitation to stay another 3 or 4 hours, right? So,
yeah. On that note, thank you to everyone who's bought a coffee recently. Coffee does power the show. Everybody who's trying to get me to find other ways of letting them donate, that will happen sooner or later. I've got a ton of memes here and all kinds of stuff that's been submitted. We've got this. You may be old, but are you this old? Do you remember the good old days when we used to play with... Did you ever play with these like water rings?
Yeah, endless fun. It's like real physics, and it's a lot like a little kind of game, like one of those little Tetris-y kind of games. Not really, but I mean, very entertaining. It took real skill too. Like those buttons are sensitive to how much air how much you pump. So very delicate stuff.
Yeah. It took skill. When we chatted offline, you told me that during your trip around the U.S., there was very little awareness about what's going on in 404, also known as Ukraine, also known as that land far, far away from the U.S. and right on the border of Russia. You posted this. The risks of Ukraine's bold attack on Russia. They're attacking with drones. They've moved into the Kursk Oblast. Do you want to tell us like give us a digest of how unaware people are in the U.S., how close we are to World War III?
Spit out my coffee there. Jesus. How close we are to World War III.
Yeah.
Yeah, very people. So in the US, it's just not an issue that people, it's not in the news, on the regular news. It's not really like in the whole time I was there, I don't think Ukraine came up in the news once. I mean, they reported briefly on the cursed stuff, and that's all the headlines. So if you were just an American that wasn't paying special attention, but you watch the news or whatever, you would think that what's going on right now is that Ukraine has an offensive, that Ukraine has the initiative, and that Ukraine is taking the offensive. That's what you would gather if you were just loosely following it. And no one is seriously following it. I mean, well, I'm sure there's maybe 1 million people at most that are following it in the US. So just based upon YouTube numbers, and you can't add them all together because the same person views a lot of different content. Maybe 400,000 Americans are following with some closeness, like what's going on in Ukraine. Everyone else, there's no sense in the country that there's a war. There's no, it's just not on people's minds or on people's lips, at least. So,
considering Trump is slotted most likely to pull ahead in the presidential race, and most likely get the nomination. I mean the presidency. I mean, if everything goes normally, which is a big ask of the U.S. How likely do you think it is that the funding for Ukraine gets stopped?
I think that the funding for Ukraine has already stopped, and when I look at the whatever $90 billion that they passed in May, right? It was May. I don't think that 10% of that money will ever go to Ukraine. And that's according to the legislation behind that. It's actually it's very weird the way they did that. It was, I can understand now why it was passed, because in the final analysis, I think it only provides about between 5 and 13 billion, like, for Ukraine. Everything else was just a military industrial complex supplemental related to how the US functions. So they called it Ukraine, which was weird politics. It was almost like a flex. So they called it the Ukraine, fund or whatever. But well, Zelensky will tell you, man, that money hasn't arrived, so.
A lot of things happened while you were in the U.S., including that assassination attempt. We'll get into that a little bit later. But I want to get your take on the DNC and what happened recently with Kamala.
With Kamala,
Spectator.
Yes. So what do you want to get into with this?
How can I say? Can you explain the democratic process that brought Kamala forward?
Oh, right. Yeah, I can explain it. So,
as a subject of like authoritarianism here in the Balkans, where like we need more democracy and we have stolen elections. I just don't understand what's going on in the free West. So, as somebody who was there and who is from there originally, can you tell me how you explain?
So Kamala Harris is the nominee. She became the nominee in the normal Democrat Party process, which is the national committee and the media agreed that she's the nominee. I mean, look, that's what happened to Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020. Bernie's weak. He didn't fight. He's got no fight in him. It's just as well. I'm glad he's not president. Not putting up the fight in the DNC is like, if you can't fight the DNC, then how are you going to fight the globalists, the transnational corporations, NATO, Atlanticism, the deep state, the media? Like, if you got no fucking fight in you, then, go home. So, but Bernie's platform was okay. It was fine, acceptable to me, especially on the issues of war and tariffs on foreign goods. So, but that was not an agenda that I think that he is capable of delivering, nor is it one that I think that could have been delivered through that type of politics, given the structure of that party and what the kind of support he would need. And then it would just be too easy. It would just become the politics of shutting down Bernie's proposals, and it would have united Republicans shutting down Bernie on things that we don't want to shut Bernie down on. So it's a really messed up thing, but I don't think there was a mistake. I'm just saying that, Bernie may have been able to defeat Donald Trump in 2016, but I don't think that he could have beat Donald Trump in 2020 because he doesn't have fight in him, and people saw it. After 2016, it's kind of like, all right, you don't fight for things. So
it's like Bernie, so you're telling me it's Bernie or Kamala?
I'm saying Bernie Sanders is, the destruction of Bernie Sanders. I'm saying two things. On the one hand, he didn't have the fight in him, so it's good that he didn't become the president of the United States. But nevertheless, by the rules of the DNC and by, the formal rules of politics, like, he won that nomination and he was robbed of it in 2016. So. And I know the people involved in that, and I know what our revolution was, and I know what the Working Families for Bernie was, and I know the SEIU operatives behind that. And it was a huge meltdown, and there was a huge, loud sucking sound of the vacuum of the credibility leaving the progressive wing of the Democrat Party when the nomination was stolen from Bernie. The thing is that I use these words consistently, like progressive. Like, Kamala is not progressive. It's our dictionary is all fucked up, yeah, if you're angling for a job or something, like in mainstream media, or if you want to, do Fox News, or if you want to do media, or if you want to be invited to donors type of stuff, then yeah, you gotta play dumb, and I consider it dumb. But I think most people who are smart enough are playing dumb, But it's dumb to speak in terms of left and right. It's dumb. Now that doesn't mean that you're dumb, but you're dumbing your message down. Maybe for some reason, like you have a theory about demographics and the potential universe of, where you can draw support from or get your message heard. But in my view, the cost benefit analysis is like, are you there to inform and empower, educate, or are you there to feed into people's misguided misconceptions about how politics actually works with these labels, because that's going to disempower people, because it's like, let's not forget that, we can't play no true Scotsman either. Like, let's not forget that it was right-wing George Bush that got us into Iraq and Afghanistan, and it was, right-wing so-and-so. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. And then the no truth Scotsman shit comes in like, well, you're not really being right-wing, or you're not really being conservative when you do these, war in Iraq, or whatever the fuck the argument is. It's a no true Scotsman argument. But then when the left does it, people who don't understand the left will say, oh, that's what the left is. But if you are a person of the left, you'll be like, no, like that. When the Democrats are doing imperialism, the left wing of the Democrat Party is like, no. Like, that's, just look at all of the never Biden, never Kamala people that are potential Democrat voters or historical Democrat voters on the left wing of the party that are up in arms over Israel, or up in arms over Ukraine if they're more informed. They do exist. So it's but that doesn't mean that we have another discursive framework to substitute it with. What do you have here? What does this mean?
And there it was in my notifications. You have violated community standards for a meme that was posted 4 years ago. Just a little reminder
no, that
to
happens
everyone.
To people a lot. It's totally crazy. They had stupid people working at Facebook. Zuckerberg is an ineffective manager. He was just not competent, and they didn't know how to program the things. They didn't know how to do censorship the right way. Like, I'm not an advocate of censorship, but what
if you're gonna do it, at least do it correctly, right?
This goes back thousands of years, man, to fucking Hammurabi's code. You have to have the laws posted so people know what they're violating before or after. And in Facebook, you neither know before nor after what you've actually done. You don't even know if when you lost your account, frankly, if they just had some malfunction and you lost your account, and they don't even say why you lost your account. And so you can't even, if someone asks you like, hey, have you ever been censored for things that you've said and removed from social media? You could say, no. No, because that's not the message I got. I mean, I don't have a Facebook account anymore. They terminated my account, but they didn't give a reason why.
You recently got back on X.
I think I quit. I think I told them I'm gone, and then they got mad and took away my keys. I don't even remember what happened. So
yeah, Facebook is a long over story for you, but you're now recently back on X. Have you been active on X? How do you find X?
No, I just started an X account, a while ago, but it's just too much. Like I'm more involved in the lives of my kids, and I love time with my wife. I mean, I don't know what other people are doing. I don't know if they just don't have, I don't know if some people are, crunching 36 hours out of their day or something, but my day is 24 hours and I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping for like 7 of those hours. You know what I mean?
And I've got a couple of the photos that you posted during your trip to the U.S. Do you want me to pop them up, and then you can give us a little bit of a tour?
Good tour, yeah.
This is Palace of Fine Arts.
Yeah, this is in San Francisco.
Mrs. Flores.
Yeah, that's Mrs. Flores.
You were in San Francisco for how long?
Oh, it doesn't matter. But it was I was in the Bay Area for like 12 days.
All right. And this is you with your son.
Yeah, this is my son
with some toys.
Yeah, that's in Colonial Williamsburg in Virginia, at Ford's Colony.
All right. And how did your family find the States?
Well, my kids, for them, my son doesn't know where the hell he is, but my daughter was totally into all these things and totally stoked about the airplane and the whole thing. Yeah, my cousins put this hat on him. Have you seen these hats before? I don't know what it says, but it's a popular hat there. And they put it on his head and took a picture. So,
yeah, I was gonna say you haven't been in the States for how long now? How long have you been in Serbia? 10 years?
Yeah, so something? It's like 12 years. But I've been in the States for a few funerals, but we're talking like 3 days, 4 days in and out, a week, and that's not enough time to. I was just immediately with family during those funerals. Both my grandmothers, passed away in the past decade. So I was there for a week or something in 2018 or something, or 2017, I suppose,
and
whatever it was.
And since then, what is that, like 8 years ago, something like that?
Yeah.
What is
but
your
it's really been 12
of,
years since I've been. It's really been 12 years since I've been in the country, and really really in the way that you could make a survey and get a vibe check. What's going on? Yeah, that's in New Mexico. My mom's from.
What did you? So, what's your overall review of the states? Is it as bad as people think it is, or is it worse?
It's a tale of two cities, man. Like there's states I haven't been to, like Florida, that's booming because everyone is moving there. And that's what Tom was telling me on the Gold Goats and Guns. That's gonna be on. Sorry to plug it on your show, but that'll be on in a couple of days for folks. But California, I mean, in the part of San Francisco that I saw, I was only on Embarcadero, and then everything I saw was like, tourism and stuff. So I wasn't like in the places that people really live, like real San Franciscans live. So I didn't get to see like the open air needle exchanges or, broad daylight prostitution and stuff that you do see in Oakland and in parts of San Francisco. And the homeless encampments. I didn't see all that because I was just pretty much like down by the docks in Embarcadero, and then like this, and then in San Jose, and San Jose where my dad lives, and in San Jose, which is about half an hour, it's all the same shit. Like if you're from LA and you hear people in the Bay Area talking about these like the real places, you're like, okay, it's just the greater San Francisco area. San Jose, Oakland, whatever, fucking same shit, Fremont, whatever. Just like LA is all LA, doesn't matter. It's like if you're in Philadelphia or in Taiwan, do you fucking say you're from Orange County? Do you say you're from Anaheim, or do you say you're from LA? Anyway, so it's the Bay Area, and San Jose was weird. It's like everyone was Indian or Chinese. And don't get me wrong, I love the idea of going to India and being surrounded by Indians, or going to China. I love those people. They're wonderful people. They're bright, they're energetic, they're caring, they're, good with families. They're respectful amongst themselves. But in San Jose, it made me sad because I think about all the people that historically naturally gravitate to the STEMs, like, science, technology, engineering, medicine fields. And I think about how those people, Americans, are not getting those educations, are not getting those jobs. Silicon Valley, but a lot of stuff looked like it was shutting down, and there was just tons and tons of empty real estate space. I was staying at a place not far from PayPal Park, not far from the San Jose airport, and because I had to find like hotels big enough to accommodate my family, and 370 square feet won't cut it for me typically. If you have kids and stuff, you know what I mean. So it was like suite, double room, connecting doors, shit like that, And so I was near San Jose Airport, and that's near like where all the tech stuff is, Silicon Valley, and it was like becoming abandoned. Like all of the research, office space, and industrial parks around that area, which is like the streets are like Matrix and technology, and it's all like named to be like, wow, Zuckerberg Boulevard and shit like this. No, I'm just kidding. That's going to happen soon though. And they were empty. So you think about Elon Musk and stuff moving to Texas, right? So that's got to be a lot of other enterprises that have moved to Florida or Texas. So if those states have like Republican governors or Republican legislatures, and then now those companies have moved their physical address over there, now they're like under the auspices of like those tax codes, those regulations and stuff. So just by Elon Musk physically being based in Texas like changes Elon's politics by default, like by the physical gravity of the location. You see what I mean? Because now his tax-free situation or whatever, welfare queen shit he wants to get into next, he's a champagne socialist, right? Whatever welfare queen stuff he wants to get into next, on your dime as a taxpayer, and be subsidized into convincing people that he's some fucking, self-made genius, right? He's a tax whore. But an interesting man nevertheless, and I'm not against every single thing that he's done or been doing either. I'm just speaking plainly as a human being here. But yeah, follow the dollars. I mean, he did it. He said, you know what, this regulatory environment in California is killing us. But it's also the politics, because then, they wanted to make it be that tech was a Democrat thing, that like science and technology is a Democrat thing. Now, of course, applied science and technology and whatever Great Reset shit and biometric life and all is all globalist agenda stuff that Democrats, for whatever reason we've talked about before, are rapidly pursuing. But yeah, I mean, you can see it's not an environment. Yeah, but there's still the I don't know if like these Indians and Chinese people there are like now unemployed or if they're working for less or what they're doing, but they're everywhere. And it's weird. It just, and I also noticed that everyone was driving a Tesla, like so many Teslas in California, but also like New Mexico and Arizona, but so many Teslas in California. And I was asking about it, and it's like, oh, like if you bought it within these certain years, then you get grandfathered in to like free charging. And it's like, oh, so this is like you buy the car and it comes with basically permanent gas. I mean, it's electric.
Yeah. Like highly subsidized is what you're getting at.
It was being subsidized. Yeah. It's like, man, so like, and they were telling me that the charge time to get like 300 miles out of it was like an hour. And
I saw a meme. I don't have it handy. There's Tesla came out with like a tent, the rooftop tent that you can put on the Tesla so that you can sleep while it's charging.
While you can sleep while it's charging. Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, you see people park, and you see them parked in these free charging lots if they're grandfathered Tesla, and they're like in their fucking phones or whatever the fuck they're doing. To me, the thing is not appealing. Like as an idea, I don't like it.
Trump said something along the lines of like, they're useless for long distance trips, but like within cities, like, okay, yeah, maybe I can understand it. So like when he was sucking up to Musky Musk recently. Speaking of Trump, I wanted to get your take on what happened while you were there.
Yeah, too many things happened while I was there. It seemed like as many things happened in a year or two happened the time that I was there.
I think it's referred to as the quickening. In scripture. In any case, yeah, there was a attempt on Trump's life. Do you think it was a real attempt?
Yeah, it was a real attempt. Yeah, it was a real attempt. It was a real attempt, and Biden threatened him twice. And I was just putting this together, and I've been bouncing it off a few people to see what they think. But I mean, everyone knows when he said we got to put Donald Trump in the bullseye, that was a threat to shoot him. Okay, but there was another threat that actually is weird. If you look at someone now, by the way, he's already threatened the guy. Okay, with the bullseye stuff. In the debate, and maybe this was after the debate that he said the bullseye stuff, but during the debate, like if someone is your arch enemy and has weaponized the Justice Department against you and has had ordered the FBI to raid your house, as Biden has done. And then that guy who's done that looks at you and he looks you up and down and he's like sizing you up. And he says, "Oh, you say you're 6'4", but you're actually 6'5". And it's like, what are you measuring for a coffin? Or so that when you're standing on a podium that the sniper has the right height? Like, why would you, that's a very strange thing to mention. Now, of course, you could just make it be generally about Trump claiming to have an athleticism or claiming to, but actually, if you listen, he didn't say you're actually 6'4", claiming to be 6'5". He said you're actually 6'5", claiming to be 6'4". Now, you could write that off as Biden being senile and fucking up his own diss, but then remember that Trump was not wearing his shoes when he was shot. People say, oh, getting his shoes back on was because when he was tackled, it knocked his shoes off. Oh, really? He was tackled? Show me the part that he was fucking tackled. He wasn't tackled. There was never a tackle. So there were a number of Secret Service people who surrounded him as he crouched. That was the only way they could protect him, because they didn't have people as they should by, I don't know if it's a regulation or a rule, but there's, the Secret Service people assigned to the president should be equal to his height.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say at least his height, if not taller, But like on that stage, he was the tallest.
5 women. You had one of them trying to do some imitation of tactical, like everything was just from movies, and she couldn't even holster her gun. And she couldn't holster her gun, so then she goes back to tactical mode, And it's like such a joke. These people have no training. There's something weird going on. But there's something weirder going on with that woman who wants to have that job. It's almost like, wow. Remember the lady that was pretending to know sign language, and she was on TV just doing this stuff?
Yeah, I remember that.
Imagine getting into the Secret Service like that. Like, how the fuck does that happen? So definitely it was an inside job attempted hit on Trump. So people will remember that immediately after that hit attempt that night, Trump is on the phone with who? RFK Jr. And RFK Jr. recorded it and then acted like it was a mistake that it was recorded, but it didn't reflect poorly on RFK nor Trump. And in that video, Trump tells Bobby Kennedy, he tells him, Biden actually called me up. He was nice about the whole thing, actually, he says. And he asked me, how did you know to turn your head right at that moment? So we have 3 statements from Joe Biden, right, on this side. We're going to put you in the bullseye. You say you're 6'4", but you're really 6'5". How did you know to turn your head right at that moment?
Conspiracy theorist.
Oh yeah, conspiracy theorist. Yeah, it's called knowing how to add. 1 + 1 + 1. Right?
Reminder: this channel is not eligible for monetization.
Buy this man a fucking cup of coffee for the love of Christ. Like, what's wrong with you fucking cheapos? No. Come on, guys. Come on. Look at them.
At least a like and a share. Tell somebody about this.
Yeah, I know. Like the fucking Hurley boy. Give him a chance. Give him a hire. Give the guy a job. Buy him a cup of coffee.
Fake news network.
We know who you are, because we see that you're watching all the videos. We see the numbers go up. We see that some of you people are, watching one after the other, right?
He doesn't mean you people. He doesn't mean you people. He means subscribers. He doesn't mean you people. Xoaquin, I don't know. You might have missed this. Did you hear the news about Disney? And Disney Plus.
What is this? What is it? No,
Somebody was allergic to something in their food in one of their restaurants and died as a consequence of it,
Really?
and was planning to sue them, but because they had signed up to Disney Plus, the Disney Plus user agreement basically precludes you from suing Disney for any reason, including death because of stuff that was not marked in the restaurant and led to your death.
So if you go to Disneyland and get food poisoning,
And
but you
die.
also subscribe to Disney Plus,
Yeah,
and the judge found that was legit,
apparently.
that's what happens, man. When that's America, baby.
America, baby, huh? Monkeypox is upon us. What's your take on monkeypox?
You know that Chiquita banana sticker meme? I'm
No.
vaccinated. I'm ready for monkeypox. It's like a Chiquita banana sticker because it's all fucking make believe shit, right? I guess that's where I'm at with it. I can't believe that there's people. No, I saw people wearing masks in California. I'm like, it's like I couldn't believe.
Wait, like now you saw people wearing masks?
Yeah,
Like recently?
yeah, like I'm saying, like a few weeks ago, man, I saw. Oh, I must have seen. I'd say 5 out of 100 people are still fucking wearing masks in California. Yeah, 5% of people are still wearing masks.
But is that 5% like just random selection of 5%, or is it all like a typical, like, is it old people that are still like under the spell?
No, man,
is it,
no.
it's just a random selection?
It's surprisingly not. Surprisingly, I don't remember maybe one old person wearing a mask. No, I'd say it cut about 75% female. I'd say majority under the height of like 5'4", and typically I would say non-white, non-Hispanic. I would say like Asian and Middle Eastern and other women.
I'm sure you heard what's happening in the UK.
But you know what? I can't confuse that. You know what it is, though, is that I was in Silicon Valley also, and we have a lot of Chinese, like, and they've been wearing masks for fucking decades. So I don't know now.
So you're saying it might be a
cultural trait of the neo-Chinese. They've been wearing the
spoiled
neo-Chinese
sample.
culture. Is what?
The sample that you're using for your analysis is...
the sample universe is corrupted by the Orientals that predominate numerically in the region, and they love wearing masks. They love those. They love those surgical masks. If you look at like video footage of like Beijing or whatever from the 90s, like people are wearing masks. So.
That is true, but they're doing it for the pollution side, supposedly, or at least they were back then. UK news. You saw the UK burn and riot.
No, I didn't, man. It's like, it's riots again. This is fucking Children of Men, dude. There was another riot. Okay. Is this time people are hungry or they don't have houses? But what's the story?
The story is supposedly a Muslim. Turned out he wasn't a Muslim. Killed a girl. He was an immigrant, second generation immigrant, as in born in the UK. Some African country. I'm not gonna sound racist, but I can't remember whether he was from Sudan or Nigeria or something like that.
It doesn't matter if he's Muslim or fucking.
But the point is he was Christian, and he attacked people, girls, underage girls in school, if I'm not mistaken, and then. No, just like I have no idea.
I don't know. Yeah, when people say Muslim, that's more like an ethnic thing that they're trying to describe, like a Arab or something. But it's obviously when a Muslim tries to like rape a girl in public, he's not practicing Islam, right? And I was just, I don't know what Christian scripture would justify. So he wasn't a Christian. He was just He was just from a part of Africa that had been Christianized as opposed to Islamicized, is what you're saying, right? So,
but he
wasn't
was actually, but he was actually second generation. He's actually second generation from the UK, and he
just a guy. He's just actually just a black guy.
Basically, and for some reason the media framed it as something that a Muslim did, and then the English Defense League.
No way. In the UK, they won't even say when it is a Muslim. They won't say that it's a Muslim.
That's why it's very suspicious with this narrative that like they're saying it's not, and then all the Muslims came out to defend it, and then in the end it turned out it wasn't, and the riots already happened, and they're all like anti-migrant riots, and the extreme right is coming out, and I don't know. The UK seems like it's up in flames very soon. So basically, what you're telling me is that you're not in tune with what's going on in the UK. Are you in tune with what's going on in Serbia and the
Rio Tinto?
Rio Tinto. There you go. Sorry, not sorry. No step on snake. Do you want to give us a lowdown on...
People have been begging you to have me on to explain this. People have been in my own comments saying, we need Xoaquin now to, like, what the fuck is this? How does this fit into the model? And it's very, very simple. You just have to listen. You have to understand the model once again.
I've got that clip of you, the one sentence clip. Hold on.
Sentence. It's one, this is the rule. Right. This is the rule. A color revolution is effectively a coup, which is justified in some simulacrum of media at some level as being a popular uprising. So it's a coup. It's a coup that is given all the dressings and appearances and simulacrum and hyperreality of a popular uprising, like a grassroots uprising, and that's why I use the term astroturf to describe, that.
So astroturfing.
That guy's spot on. That guy's spot on. You should have him on more. I agree with that. It's so the forces behind coercing Serbia to allow Rio Tinto to exploit Serbian lithium, capital L lithium, as you pointed out, are the same forces organizing the protest against it.
What? But why? Why would they do that? How does that work?
People are still not listening. So I'll give you another example. This is not, I didn't make this up to fit this case. This is the whole model every time consistently. People are still not listening. Look, for example, let's take Egypt leading up to Tahrir Square. Okay. This is when Mubarak was still in charge of Egypt, right? Before he died suddenly over the course of 6 months in a prolonged coma, right? They were putting makeup on him and stuff, just like with Chavez in Venezuela. Like, he's still alive, he's in a coma. All this, like, it's like Weekend at Bernie's and shit with makeup on him. Like, like mortuary, like morgue makeup. Like, oh, he's got color in his cheeks, I guess he looks good, he's alive. Okay, yeah, but he's dead in the hospital bed, but he's alive. So Mubarak, a good example. So the IMF, right? IMF comes in and says, you need to qualify for the next IMF loan, you need to cut the spending on your social sector, on your social services, all right? So let's say this is just hypothetical so you understand how this works. We're gonna shut down preschools. The state can no longer afford preschools, we're gonna shut them down, okay? So then the IMF, right, they'll say, look, but here are a list of agencies approved by the UN, NGOs, licensed ones, that can come in and try to help, like, stop the problem that you're now going to encounter by no longer offering kindergarten, you see? So Now, people need kindergarten. Their kids need education. Number two, people rely on kindergarten so that they can get to work, right? The same people, right? The same people who are telling Egypt to cut its social spending are the same people who then bring in the NGOs to like stopgap the problem, right? But that NGO is actively organizing people against the government.
No.
No. So again, it's the same people forcing you to do something unpopular and then supporting the protests behind, that are naturally going to arise from that unpopular thing. Like what Vučić is doing is extremely unpopular. You can't justify it if your operating model is that Serbia is a fully sovereign state, that the president or the prime minister can make decisions, as if it was the United States or something. So, right. Yeah, that's environmentalism in a nutshell today. So that's where it's gone, right? So yeah, now the Vučić government is damned if they do and damned if they don't. You've got this lithium concern. They're big rollers, and these are all compromises. And the road of compromises is like a very, very slippery slope. And, Vučić might find himself in a situation like Milosevic. And people will know that Milosevic at a certain point had to say, we can't compromise anymore. Like, just tell us all the things we need to do now so that we can plan rationally to do them. And the Americans told them, like, no, you don't seem to understand. Like, it never ends. Our
goes back.
Money will never end. Like, they're going to keep, and So, the outcome of the war in Ukraine is going to be the biggest contingent factor on the future of Serbia. If Russia does not obtain its goals and then create a security perimeter to secure that, then Serbia is fucked. And Serbia is trying to do its own, crippled version of Yugoslav foreign policy, but with 1/4 the population,
Mm-hmm.
And without the type of support.
The map of Serbia in the clouds.
What's that? Oh, it is a map of Serbia in the clouds. Look at that.
Pretty cool.
Wow. And it's like the sun is Kosovo.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, the thing is that people who are protesting against Rio Tinto should be out in the streets protesting. We can't allow the fact that these things, just because they're setups for color revolutions, doesn't mean that they're not real issues. Like, we can't work against we can't just be against anything. We can't be against our own interests, right? The government should experience pressure and should renegotiate with Rio Tinto or cancel the deal. I just happen to know that there are too many powerful people in Serbia who presently support Vučić, you see, who are going to get rich off of Rio Tinto. And those people are precisely the people that, if Vučić was not there, they would get behind whoever the US installed. So that's how the whole thing is set up. I mean, like I said, the Vučić government is between a rock and a hard place. I don't know what they know, and I'm not intimately following the details of every player in the game and who in Vucic's cabinet or who in the parliament or who in the Serbian oligarchy is also tied into Rio Tinto and the balance of power and how he could maneuver it. I don't know, because no one's paid me to do that. That would be a contract type of job. It would require a rigorous analysis. I would have to really dig in deep. But just from, my working model of how these things work, yeah, definitely like the Rio Tinto pressure, the public outrage against it, justified, but also part of a plot. It's multidimensional, it's both things. So, yeah.
You were saying how they're between the government here is between a rock and a hard place and is having to play within the framework of what you said Milosevic was put up against, in the sense that the shifting goalposts and the narcissistic basically behavior or the trends, narcissistic trends of the U.S. foreign policy, which is like a recurring theme here at Working Brother Talks with a couple of our recent guests. We've even got a meme on that subject sent in by Vex recently. This cunning, unelected, narcissistic turd, not a healthcare professional, economist, or scientist, just money-grubbing eugenicist. Okay, you went off screen.
I had to turn off the air. It got cold. Yeah. So as I've been explaining to people, the Great Reset and globalism is, as a brand, has been dealt many a serious blow, and they are reformatting and trying to revitalize certain aspects of the nation, of the national view within the globalists. So it's important to not be, you're going to hear Kamala Harris and stuff talk America first, and some black Democrats already said "Make America Great Again." I don't know if it was by accident or they forgot, whose slogan that was, but the Heritage Foundation are bad people, and they are their geopolitics is all wrong. But the fact that the globalists are reevaluating and confronting the aftermath of their own defeats, is a good thing. But they are remember what people need to understand, and I would encourage anyone to just understand that these globalists do not have ideological commitments in the way that most people use the words like left and right, okay? What congenitally right-wing people have a hard time understanding is they just fail to understand the zeitgeist, the spirit of the age, okay? And that could be an issue of race, class, and location for them. In people who are educated in universities in the past 20 to 25 years, okay, have a different syllabus than people who graduated 50 years ago or 45 years ago. And it's congenitally conservative people fail to understand that the ruling class, that the problem is not their ideology. It's not, they don't have an ideology, okay? They're going to use any ideology to arrive at certain goals that they have. And there's a whole different narrative that better explains, as I have at great length in my past live streams, maybe a few times with you, have explained the political compass. We've explained why the ruling class in the West has landed on social democracy, right? It's not really social democracy in the way that the historical left understands it. But people, if you have a working political dictionary, you'll understand what I mean. If you don't, then you won't, you know?
So what you're saying is you're a far-right extremist.
Exactly. And
seems to
and
be a
everything
theme.
wrong in the world is a Bolshevik conspiracy. No, it's just not how things work. And people really need to grow up and come out of their childhoods and their childhood ideologies and their childhood, teenage, and 20-something belief systems. There's people who just haven't, you know.
I want to get your comment. Somebody sent this along in chat today. The first global revolution, and
that's a Club of Rome. That's from the Club of Rome.
Exactly, from the Club of Rome, and it says the common enemy of humanity is man. That is the quote that we've got here. That I want to get your take on as we wrap up the hour here.
So what that passage says, you're going to find that. So what that says just in a nutshell, is two important things that explain how the Club of Rome and the globalists see you and see the world. Number one, environmentalism wasn't chosen because it's a threat. Like that there's a real big threat to the environment, I mean, right? Environmentalism was chosen because of its ability to unite people. So they needed something to unite everyone against a common enemy. Reagan once proposed it could be aliens, right? That's some deep state shit right there.
Aliens.
Well, that falls in line with what we've been told by Wernher von Braun for 50 years already. Wernher von Braun, the Nazi NASA scientist, said clearly to his staff, on the inside, candidly to them, and he knew, because he knew Disney. Wernher von Braun knew Disney magic. They knew that all of this was smoke and mirrors. He knew that, that the moon, right, as a hypothetical destination and a place that you could land, would require a rocket, that the rocket itself would have to be like larger than the Chrysler building. And the one that we got was like 1/5 the size. So that's a model. And that the model is what they used in the launch. The model is what they used in the launch. So, no one understands these questions better than Wernher von Braun. I mean, that's why they brought him in. And Operation Paperclip. So it's it boggles the mind, that he knew these things were all about narratives and giving humanity a uniting principle, not that the science was true. You see?
Trust the science, Xoaquin. You just don't trust the science.
I just
that's
don't
your,
trust it. I'm one of little faith, when it comes to science, unfortunately. I'm a heretic.
We've gone over the hour mark. I've started to introduce more or less hard rule of keeping it under an hour, just for processing and for people's scheduling sakes. Thank you for making the time. This has been a long time in the making. Is there anything you'd like to say to people as I play some outro music as a conclusion?
Yeah, I like that we just looked at it. We talked about nothing, we talked about everything, so we're good.
Yeah, just do it. This is sent in. Cat on Telegram. Maya, thank you. Everyone who stuck around to the end, thank you for sticking around. Like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. Xoaquin, we will be back and recording sooner than people think, right?
Perhaps.
Excellent. All right. Thank you again, everyone. See you later. Peace out.